Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Another look at the Natasha Jonas situation beyond the ropes. Natasha Jonas, how her career appears to have been on ice for most of this year. You have to be balanced whenever you say or write something. Boxer and Ben Shalom have delivered for Natasha Jonas. They rescued her from the wilderness. They delivered world title after world title, a dream realized. Jonas, after being more than lost in the mix elsewhere, was finally treated as a priority, but it does appear that in some ways, maybe in many ways, Miss Great Britain is right back where she started. Her priority status is seemingly lost at a time in her career when it is needed the most. Despite coming off her best ever win, that thrilling hometown victory over Mikaela Mayer in January, Jonas has now seemingly been put in cold storage. Having recently turned 40, the Liverpudlian fighter can't afford to be kept on ice. 2023 was a similar story. One fight, 1 year of frustration. 2024 looks like it is heading in the exact same direction. In truth, it already has. Because it's almost over, it's not looking like Natasha's gonna fight again. She only fought once last year, and she only fought once this one. There have been promises of fights. A rematch with Mayer looked locked in on numerous occasions. Both fighters did everything they could to secure the rematch. They worked in unison, exploring every available option. They tried to make the fight on a top-ranked show in America. They tried to make it work on a Frank Warren show in London, but nothing could get over the line. Both fighters desperately wanted to run it back, but the usual boxing politics got in the way. Very much a missed opportunity. Both, as a consequence, had to move on without each other. Well, really, Mikaela's the only one that moved on. Mayer moved on to Sandy Ryan. A little dance at Madison Square Garden in September that earned Mayer the WBO title. Meanwhile, Jonas is still playing the waiting game. Mayer still wants another fight with Jonas. It makes even more sense now because they're both champions at the weight, so the rematch would be for 2 alphabet titles and not just one. But who's going to pay for it? I don't get the sense it's going to be Boxer, and even if Boxer were willing to, I don't think Mikaela's going to go back to the UK. Not after that decision in the Jonas fight that a lot of people feel she won. Well, Natasha, come to America. Will Top Rank pay for it? The IBF World Welterweight Champion has been waiting for the definitive call that never seems to come. A possible unification fight with WBC Welterweight Champion Ivana Habazin has been mooted, but a possible date on August 31st didn't materialize. There was talk of a potential date in October in London, as was a potential fight in November. Now Jonas hears it could be December, but the wait still goes on, and the clock keeps ticking. The worry is that December will now roll into next year. Jonas can't afford a near year-long absence away from the ring, but that appears to be her reality. That if it takes them till next January to get her back out there, that's a year in between fights. Yeesh. Last time she saw action was in January of this year. Here and now, we're closer to January of next year. And if it takes them that long to get her another fight date, that's a year, folks. Yeesh. Jonas has been beyond patient, but time is running out. She wanted this to be her last year in the sport. She wanted to go out with a bang. She deserves to go out in a blaze of glory, but not for the first time. Boxing has failed her. There has been a desired hit list. Jessica McCaskill, Katie Taylor, Chantel Cameron, and that on and off second fight with Mikaela Mayer, but nothing has happened. The priority status has seemingly gone elsewhere. The Boxer involvement in the Saudi-backed shows seems to be the current main focus, sadly to the detriment of the in-house UK product. or so it would appear.
You know what this means?
If Boxer's not on the eve of making a fight between Natasha and Ivana Habazin, that means Ivana's available for somebody else to come and pick her up, somebody else to make her an offer for a fight, whether it's Michaela Mayer in a unification or Cindy Ryan is a voluntary.
She needs a title.
Since doesn't look like Natasha's about to fight her, after all the fanfare of that truly wonderful 2022, a year that finally saw Jonas land her first world title at the third attempt, quickly followed by two more, but Jonas is again on the outside looking in. Not for the first time, Natasha Jonas deserves better from a sport that she has graced for over a decade, but maybe this time it cuts a little deeper. As Natasha Jonas is one of the great boxer success stories.
All those fighters that left Matchroom for Boxer.
It should now be a swan song of celebration, creating the final memories to sign out in style. Time is very much against her. You'd hope that Boxer and Shalom realize this. It's another great boxing mystery why Jonas hasn't yet got a fight locked in. She isn't alone in waiting for a firm date. But time is against her. The others have a little bit more time to play with, because they're younger.
This is bigger than just it being about Natasha.
I do believe this pertains to Sky Sports and how many resources they're allocating to their boxing wing, that they may be pulling back, they may be withdrawing from the sport of boxing due to an inability to compete with both Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, who next year are both set to do all their shows on DAZN. Sky just ain't got the bodies. Sky and Boxer by themselves just ain't got the fights to keep up with the both of them. So as a result of that, they're maybe not spending as much money on their boxing.
And that might be why Ben Shalom outsourced some of those fighters to Riyadh season shows.
Because he knew that this year the budget at Sky was going to be tight. So while those guys got to fight on big cards, it's left a lot of other fighters, like Natasha Jonas, in limbo. But what are you supposed to do?
If the people at Sky decide not to renew with Boxer next year, Kara Sardingstall and Lauren Price, they could always go to Matchroom or they could always go to Queensberry. But for a fighter like Natasha Jonas, who's at the tail end of her career, very much towards the end,
she doesn't have as much time as, say, a Caroline Dubois, such a young fighter with so many good years ahead of her, who could also go to Matchroom, who could also go to Queensberry. Natasha?
She's not going back to Matchroom.
Queensberry would be the only alternative, but at 40 years old, does she really want to do that? Her relationship with Boxer has been mostly successful. Mostly, but that relationship may have outlived its usefulness, not because of her or anything she did, but because of Sky's wavering commitment to boxing.
The Boxer?
That might be it, and there's not a lot that either she or Ben Shalom can do about that.
I want to fight him, bro, because he been tricking the boxing game for too long. He been tricking the boxing game for too long. He makes shit look good. He makes shit look better than what it is.
He's 100% right.
It's all matchmaking.
All of it.
Resume what? What kind of resume he got? He ain't no fucking resume, man. He don't got no resume, man. He don't got no goddamn, no goddamn Sugar Ray Leonard on his resume. He don't got no goddamn Marvin Hagler. He don't got no real deal fighters like that on his shit. He got fights we all knew he was gonna win, man.
Yeah.
He got fights he all knew we was gonna win, man. I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear none of that.
It's time to get disrespectful. It's time to be disrespectful towards Gervonta Davis. I mean, what are the other guys in the division supposed to do? Just not call him out and kiss his ass? Pay homage? Pay homage to what?
What? You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay. Okay?
It's been called out by so many fighters so many times over the years. Tevin Farmer, Vasyl Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson.
I think they were being a lot more respectful towards Gervonta than Keyshawn is.
It's more of a sense of urgency when Keyshawn does it. This impatience, growing impatience with Gervonta Davis that has fought absolutely no one of note save Ryan Garcia. That's it.
And he weight drained him. He handicapped him.
I don't even want to mull over it or his resume. I don't even want to do it because it's been done a million times. There's no sense in beating a dead horse. Keyshawn Davis will not get the Gervonta Davis fight.
He won't.
These call-outs will not result in a fight. What they will result in is a profile boost for Keyshawn Davis and a lot of people that are going to start asking questions, hard questions that maybe they weren't asking before.
They're going to turn on Gervonta.
Not because they scrutinize his resume as much as I or you. Not because they've been paying attention as long as I or you, but because there's a new kid on the block. There's a new kid in town. They might like his energy more than they like Gervonta's.
From me and you, it's just gonna sound like more of the same.
From Keyshawn, it's different because they might like his energy. They might like his attitude. They might like the way that he fights, the way he stopped Gustavo Lemos in his last fight, and his ability to continue to put on performances like that. That might be the catalyst, and that might be what galvanizes them. That might be.
More than anything I or you could say.
Vasyl Lomachenko's call-outs of Gervonta Davis that we saw for something like 5 or 6 years.
Right.
His call-outs are not going to hit the same because he's a white guy from the Ukraine. There were a lot of people who did not receive and did not react to Vasyl Lomachenko's call-outs the way that they should have, the way a boxing fan is expected to because of that us versus them mentality.
For years, they gave Gervonta Davis a get-out-of-jail-free card to not fight Vasyl Lomachenko just because they ain't got nothing in common with a Vasyl Lomachenko.
Tribalism.
You started to see a swell when Devin Haney goes after him, when Devin Haney starts calling him out, even though Devin Haney does not have a fan-friendly style. That's an asterisk, a handicap unto itself, that he's not a knockout merchant. His fights just don't create the same excitement.
And it didn't help none at all that he lost to Ryan Garcia. That killed his momentum.
Shakur is boring too.
Just as, if not more boring than Devin Haney. He spent some time calling out Gervonta Davis as well, though I feel he was too respectful with his call-outs. You're giving that guy too much credit. He's supposed to fight you. He's supposed to want to fight you as much as you want to fight him.
It's your job. It's his job.
But due to a few outlying factors, Shakur Stevenson's call-outs of Gervonta Davis did not have the desired effect, whereas Keyshawn is putting more energy into it than they did. Disrespectful energy.
Gervonta should be disrespected.
Not just by Keyshawn, by everyone, the boxing media included. There are enough people out there that have spent enough time talking this guy up for doing what? And beating who?
No one!
So that when the new kid on the block arrives, he's already seen all of this play out with other fighters.
He wants what he wants, and he's not gonna kiss your ass.
Kiss the rings, because you haven't done enough. You haven't done near enough to elicit the kind of respect that some people give you.
Coward!
Gervonta Davis is a hype job, and anybody that likes him is an idiot.
Stupid.
You don't know shit about boxing. Shut your mouth.
Shut it!
When unbeaten up-and-comer after unbeaten up-and-comer after unbeaten up-and-comer spends time calling Gervonta Davis, and he doesn't oblige them.
He's 30 years old now.
See, what you guys want is for people to look at Gervonta Davis in the same spectrum that they look at, say, Canelo Alvarez and all the fighters that he's fought. Well, those are the kind of fighters that Gervonta hasn't fought. So he's not going to get the same consideration.
No.
He's not going to get the same amnesty.
Hell no.
This DEI face of boxing that so many podcasters and content creators try to prop up as the face, lying on his behalf.
Bullshit.
Didn't sell a goddamn thing in his last fight, and he's not going to sell a goddamn thing with his next one. The audience that these podcasters pander to is not the same audience that actually consumes boxing, spends money on boxing. The only people that listen to you are people that steal it.
Bums.
People of no influence, no substance. Where Keyshawn Davis, to the paying customer, the actual consumer,
Here's an American fighter that you can get behind.
that you can believe in, because he's got the pedigree, he's got the amateur background, he's got the performances in the paid ranks, and he's got the energy.
Is there supposed to be something wrong with Keyshawn calling this guy out? Is he not supposed to do that?
Remember something, sweetheart. They were calling out Floyd Mayweather all the way up until the point that he retired. Amir Khan, Keith Thurman.
Golovkin?
He was not spared callouts because of his status. So I don't know why you'd expect a lesser fighter and a lesser draw in Gervonta Davis to get amnesty.
For Keyshawn to give him amnesty, why would he?
The way it is, Keyshawn is just doing what he's supposed to do, what he's expected to, and Gervonta isn't. That's why you have to make excuses for him.
Coward!
And finally, in men's heavyweight news, former WBC champion Deontay Wilder has said he had a broken arm during his fights versus Joseph Parker and Zhang, but didn't realize it. I broke my arm way back in November sometime. I didn't know. I had 2 tears on my shoulder. I could feel the pain, but I just thought it was old injuries. But I got an MRI recently, and everything was messed up there. I didn't know because I've got a high tolerance of pain.
What?
The guy's saying that he broke his arm, but he didn't know. Can you believe that?
Should you?
I think it's safe to say that Deontay Wilder was never the same after that initial loss to Tyson Fury. and everything that happened afterwards, all of the excuses that he made, unsubstantiated claims of foreign objects concealed in Tyson Fury's glove. There was never any basis in reality for any of that. That by now, everybody knows Deontay's not gracious in defeat. It's always something, some excuse. So when he now says that he lost to Joseph,
Think about it.
after Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder in what was their second fight, what was the first loss of Wilder's professional career, he starts up with the Glovegate stuff. All of this stuff was intended to be settled in the third fight.
Final fight.
That was supposed to put it all to rest. That was supposed to put it all to bed. That if the only reason Tyson Fury beat you in your second fight was because he was cheating, then you should be able to beat him in the third fight.
He didn't.
Though he still held to all of the excuses and baseless accusations that he made, and his fans did too, what remained of them. Year by year, over time, those fans started to quiet down. Those fans started to wane.
He went on a spiritual journey using psychedelic mushrooms?
You see, I think the fight was beaten out of Deontay Wilder way back there in the second fight. There wasn't much left to bring to a third.
He's just slugging along.
Gets beat again in the third fight, gets beat again by Joseph Parker sometime later, and in between the third Fury fight and the Parker fight, this guy starts taking the psychedelic mushrooms.
Ayahuasca.
What is intended to be a spiritual journey for answers, for someone in conflict to reach some level of catharsis with their inner demons and what they are battling.
Ayahuasca.
Because he had to do that, or he felt that he had to do that, to me, that already signaled the fight's been beaten out of this guy. He's soul-searching now because his inner fire has been put out.
He never recovered from the first loss.
And the second one just made it worse, so by the time he fights at Joseph Parker, there's not much spirit, not much fight left in him. And I remember after the Parker fight, he described it as being boring.
That was the excuse?
It was something like that, not being interested, I guess.
Bear in mind that Deontay Wilder was the favorite going in. He was favored to beat Joseph Parker. Joseph was the underdog.
Joseph won, and Zhang Zhang afterwards, so that after all of that, Wilder can now say he was fighting with a broken arm, and the only reason he didn't know is because he has such a high pain threshold. That just sounds like a lot of bullshit.
Which must mean he's got a fight coming up. Which must mean he's on the eve of his ring return.
If he's come up with this new excuse, it must be because he's trying to give his fans a reason to get behind him. Get behind him again at a time when his career seems all but over.
We didn't hear much from him after the Zhang knockout.
The most that we had heard from Wilder was that his fat-faced girlfriend was going through some domestic issues with him, and she filed a restraining order.
Fat!
But that was it. We didn't hear much in terms of fight news. I'd wager if he's now making these excuses, it's because he plans on coming back. Now, who against?
But.
I don't know.
Fat!
Is it going to be part of a Riyadh season show? Has he gone back to the PBC? Is he going to try to sell some pay-per-views for them?
But.
The long and the short of it, I don't buy Deontay Wilder's excuse. I never buy any of his excuses. He's just a sore loser.
When has he ever been gracious in defeat?
When has that ever been a case? It can never be that the other guy was just the better man on the night. No, there's always some excuses attached.
It's always something.
Always. And I don't know what he has left to give to the sport of boxing.